Welcome to We Grow Together with Love Convention. This, I didn't bring a daily meditation book. Uh-oh. Or a basic text? Nobody brought a basic text or just for the day? Oh, well. Okay.
Is it ready?
No, go ahead. You got it.
No, I don't. Just for today. Don, do you have a Just for Today book in the van?
I should have. Let me check it.
I'll upstairs and get one. I don't know.
Right there.
It's right there. You know,
That young blood jumped up to the old man on that. That's it.
I'm going to raise my hand and ask if it's all right to bury somebody's ball and let somebody else get the blood.
Why are you getting the book?
You'll be hard with a whole room full of half of it.
May we have a moment of silence for a still suffering addict in and out of fellowship by the We Vision Serenity Prayer? Amen.
Amen.
God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference, just for the day. This is your book you feel like reading just for the day? This is good and bad feelings. A lot happens in one day, both negative and positive. We do not take time to approach both. Perhaps we will miss something that will help us grow. That's from the IP number 8, just for today. Most of us seem to unconsciously judge what happens in our lives each day as good or bad, success or failure. We tend to feel happy about the good, angry, frustrated, or guilty about the bad. Good and bad feelings, though, often have little to do with what's truly good or bad for us. We may learn more from our feelings than our successes, especially if failure has come from taking a risk. Attaching value judgments to our emotional reaction ties us to our old ways of thinking. We can change the way we think about the incidents of everyday life, viewing them as opportunities for growth, not as good or bad. We can search for lessons rather than assigning value. When we do this, we learn something from each day. Our daily 10 step is an excellent tool for evaluating the day's events and learning from both success and failure. Just for today, just for today, I am offered an opportunity to apply the principles of recovery so that I will learn and grow. When I learn from life's events, I succeed. During the sharing session, if there's anyone who does not want to be taped, please let us know so that we can turn off the tape. We're going to have two speakers. It's going to be Mike P. and Chuck. I don't know how they want to work it out to which one wants to speak first.
I guess the old man will go speak first.
All right, Mike.
The man's got a rest.
I'm the old man.
Can we please start out with another moment of silence, keeping in mind our primary purpose as a group to stay clean, to carry the message, and individually to stay clean? Thank you. I'm an addict named Michael. It's a privilege to be here to share this morning on
what is this, spirituality versus religion? What is the difference? When I got here yesterday, they looked and they had the sheet, and I said, okay, this is a good one. And so the last 30 or 40 minutes, I've kind of been pondering on spirituality versus religion. And it says, what's the difference? It's a question. And I think for me, I'm going to probably flip the script a little bit and look for the similarities rather than the differences. Because I remember early on in my recovery in Narcotics Anonymous, and we read it in most of the meetings I attend, the first 5 pages, and on one of the pages it says, there's one thing that will defeat us more than anything else, and that's an attitude of indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles. And I have to keep an open mind about spiritual principles. And first, before I go any further, I'm going to share my experience, strength, and hope. I'm not here to promote religion. I'm not here to downplay Narcotics Anonymous or any other 12-step program that can help people. I do know and understand today that Narcotics Anonymous does not have a lockhold, a stronghold on spiritual principles. Matter of fact, spiritual principles have been in existence on the face of this earth forever. And I know that for me in my recovery, I can get spiritual principles a whole lot of places. And that's part of my open-mindedness. I don't close my mind out to anything, because the God that I know and understand, he works through people. Inside of Narcotics Anonymous, outside of Narcotics Anonymous, and any and everywhere I may run in contact with people, I can gather some information. I can gather some spiritual principles. I took it upon myself to look in the dictionary and to look up the definition of spiritual and religion. And there were about 4 or 5 different meanings. But in each context, they had some of the same words. Supernatural. Spiritual law said something that is untangible. And also in religion, it talked about something that's supernatural. Something dealing with the soul. It also said for religion something that may be part of a organized system of beliefs and values and morals that may be led by some particular person. And see, I know also inside of Narcotics Anonymous, it's about having some principles, which I may call morals, I may call values, I may call it a lot of different things, but basically I call it good orderly direction. Because what I'm learning here today is the same thing that I was taught prior to ever knowing anything about Narcotics Anonymous. I learned it at church, I learned it from my parents, I learned it at school, I learned it in a whole lot of different places. And a lot of times we'll hear members talking about uneducating ourselves or re-educating ourselves, or kind of like, recovery is like getting back to your natural state. So it's like I'm getting back to a lot of things that I had lost over time as a result of drugs. And I didn't necessarily say as a result of addiction, because I had a lot of the behavior patterns of addiction prior to picking up any drugs, particularly when it comes to unmanageability, feelings and emotions, not knowing how to express them, being afraid, living inside of fear. But as a direct result of Narcotics Anonymous, I've joined the organized religion. And that's part of my spiritual program. That helps me to improve my conscious contact with a God of my understanding. And I don't knock anybody or beat anybody up for whatever religion you believe in, whatever you may want to call your God. And we call God a lot of different names, because I know he works. And I know based on ethnic background, makeup, or socioeconomic status, or where you live or where you come from, we're going to call God a lot of different things. But ultimately, it's all one and the same. In my mind, it doesn't matter. For me, I know it's that I do believe. For me, it's to keep an open mind. Also, in one of the readings, it talks about many of us sought help, or we found ourselves in jail, but anyway, it goes on to say that we sought help through medicine, religion, and psychiatry. But these were not sufficient. It didn't say they didn't work. See, again, because prior to ever coming to Narcotics Anonymous, I went to church as a kid. Barely I was forced to go, but I had knowledge and no understanding. When I was first introduced to Narcotics Anonymous in 1985, I had knowledge of it, but I had no understanding of or practical application. So I went back to using. When I did come back in 1988, I had a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience where my spirit inside of me began to want to live. Something happened where that spiritual part of me said, the way you're living, you don't want to live like that anymore. The desire to live began to outweigh the desire to die. So I know if I keep a closed mind to whatever it is, it's not going to work. Or it's not that it doesn't work. It's not going to work for me at that time. I have to have some open-mindedness. So I can't say that any other 12-step program doesn't work. I can't say that you don't need medicine, religion, or psychiatry, because it also tells us in our literature, some of us do have to seek professional help, whether it's for our finances, whether it's for medical conditions, or maybe we have some mental and emotional disorders that Narcotics Anonymous cannot address. Because we may be professionals in our own right, but at that level, if I'm a sponsor, I ain't going to tell my sponsee don't take his medicine for whatever it is. Because damn it, if medicine is going to help me to get better, guess what? I'm going to take it. Because when I look at the whole picture, where do we get medicine? Basically from God. We go get it from some plant, some flower, some tree, some animal. And to me, that gets back to the spiritual aspect. I took a walk around here not too long ago and really just enjoyed the beauty of this particular setting. And for me to come here, I don't know if they really build this as a convention, but I look at it more of a retreat. Because I come and I relax, I refresh, I rejuvenate, I reinvigorate. I just get in touch. You know, I'm not on a time schedule. I think I've looked at my watch maybe 4 times since I've been here. And I do what I do when I do it. It's like every time I look up, it's time to eat something. I'm like, damn, time to eat again? And then after I go eat, all I want to do is go lay down, you know. But this is real peaceful. This is, you know, I was walking through here and I was feeling the rain and I could smell the pines and I saw the little gophers, the chipmunks, and then I went and looked out at the lake and I said, this is God country. And I looked at all the different colors, you know, and I could feel the air and I was telling somebody upstairs, I said, how you doing? Or somebody asked me and I said, it's a wonderful day, isn't it? See, because it's rainy, gloomy, and overcast, it's still a beautiful day. And although I may not see the sun shining physically, but it's shining from me to you. That's something of a spiritual nature. I know it's all inside of how I think, but more so it's inside of my heart. What's in my heart? And that comes from God. See, I know, you know, that they say this is disease, which there's no known cure for it. We cannot cure it, but we can surely treat it through the practical application of these spiritual principles. See, I cannot go to the doctor and he cannot write me a prescription and all of a sudden, I'm well over this disease. The only known way that I know to treat this disease is with spiritual principles. I learned that, I guess I had about 4 or 5 years clean and recovery, and there was a guy at a treatment facility chairing a meeting. And the guy came in, or he was in the facility, and he was sharing from the audience, and he said, the only way to treat the disease of addiction is with spiritual principles. And that like blew my mind because I'd heard that thousands of times, but on the 1001st time, it really kicked in through spiritual principles. So therefore, the way that we treat this thing is not necessarily with anything tangible other than a hug. We might have some books that we read, but what are we reading? We're reading written word. And the written word is no more than that which is spoken out of each and everybody's mouth. Our shared experience, strength, and hope. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. Were the people here first, or did we have the text first? I don't know. I ponder those things sometimes. You know, we talk about the fellowship versus the program. You know, and that becomes a real controversial issue. But when you read what is the NA program, in there it says it's a fellowship of men and women. A set of spiritual principles written so simply. To me, spiritual principles are just basically good rules of conduct to govern myself in my everyday life. Because again, I cannot go to the doctor and he cannot write anything down on a piece of paper as far as a prescription to help me get over this. He might be able to write some directions to a meeting. And I go and I show up. And I keep coming back. And that's how this thing has worked for me. Keep coming back day in and day out. See, because I know when I go inside the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, there's a feeling that I get. When I get a hug from somebody, there's a feeling that I can get. This is not necessarily magical, but sometimes I do think it's magical. Sometimes I think it's even mystical. And it's definitely supernatural. It's beyond my comprehension or understanding. Because all I do is sit around here and listen to each one of you all share something. And guess what? I was able to accumulate over 9 years clean recently. By coming back, by keep coming back and doing what you all said. And then that I didn't hear you say, I read it in a book somewhere. And that lets me know that is definitely of a spiritual nature. Because again, I cannot go buy this anywhere. And as a result, again, of coming to Narcotics Anonymous and having a conscious contact with a God of understanding, unlike any other time in my life, I did decide to join church. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't in my first year. But NA led me to seek a spiritual experience and a spiritual understanding through organized religion. And that's something that helps me grow. So for me, I don't necessarily look at them as differences. I look at them as running parallel. But see, I'm not going to come around Narcotics Anonymous and spouse all my religious beliefs, or philosophical, or political, or other beliefs as far as that go. Because see, then we get into traditions and all of that. But I do understand and know that if something is affecting me in my recovery, it's material for sharing at a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. As long as I'm not trying to create dissension and gossip and promote my own particular opinion. This program of Narcotics Anonymous has really allowed me to grow. It's allowed me again to have an understanding of God and a relationship with God that I've never had before. You know, and I took a walk around here and I just kind of took it all in. And it's just a feeling that I get that, you know, it's like you can't even find the words to explain. I was even reading something in the text where it says sometimes you, in essence, you become like speechless because you just can't even, it's not enough words in English or any language to express what you get when you come to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting or how we feel when we're here. You know, and the one thing I like, it says also, and it works how and why, diversity is our strength inside of the 12th tradition. It's not about color, how much, how little, or religion, or lack of religion, or race, creed, or your sexual preference. Because see, I know we all God's children, and that's the beauty of God. That if everybody was made like me and thought like me and talked like me, guess what? We'd all probably be using. Because this would be a boring-ass place. But somehow in God's infinite wisdom that He brought us all here together. We're like fire and ice. We're like oil and water. Because there's a little bit of you and me, and there's a little bit of me and you. Our stories may differ, but basically we're all the same. Because we all got feelings and emotions. And we all are striving to stay clean one day at a time, just for today. Through having an understanding of a God, as we understand him or her. I remember one guy was saying that his guy wears zoot suits and big hats and smoke Camel cigarettes. And I was like, hey, that's good. Whatever works is fair. You know, I'm just really overwhelmed and grateful to be here and to see all of these beautiful faces. There are some faces here that I remember from the first We Grow With Love. And the reason I even came here in the beginning, I saw a flyer or something, and it was this big mansion on a lake scene and all the trees and everything, and I was like, I have to go. And this is my third time here, and I look forward to it. And I was sharing with a member last night, like, I should bring the kids. I know they'll have a good time, but this is my time. This is what I have to do for me to get away from all the distractions and the influences of a fast-paced world. You know, this gives me an opportunity to really just sit back and reflect and take it all in. And maybe next year I will bring the kids, maybe I won't, I don't know. But more will be revealed, as we say. But I just come here to enjoy nature at its best. You know, because it's a fast-paced world, and I get caught up in ego and status quo and all of that, and sometimes I forget. You know, and it's like I really had to take the last 30 or 40 minutes to really tune in, because since I've been here, I kind of got lax in my prayers and meditation. And so I said, well, let me really get charged up, because I know in order for me to really have an understanding of spiritual principles, it's like I got to get tuned in. It's like God or this power greater than ourselves or this higher power, it's just like radio waves. They all out in the air. And I'm a receiver. But see, I cannot receive anything, one, if I don't have an antenna, which is open-mindedness, honesty, and willingness. And then secondly, I got to be turned on. It's just like a radio. We may not understand how it works, but we know if there's some batteries in it or it's plugged into the wall and we're going to turn it on, we're going to get something on the radio. And God is the same way. Our higher power is the same way. It's out there. The ability to recover is out here for each and every one of us. It exists, but we just have to be able to turn on to it. We got to tune in. And I know that's the way it works for me, because I never left a God of my understanding. It's like I just shut down on that God. You know, because being brought up in the church, and it tells us also in the text that rarely will we hear anybody speak about religious matters. But see, there's one thing we talk about. We share our experience, strength, and hope. And religion may be part of somebody's experience, strength, and hope. And then somewhere in the basic text it talks about sometimes our understanding of a God may be based on religion. And for me, that's where my God of understanding is. And the God that I know today is the same God as I grew up knowing. It's just that I have a very different understanding today. Again, God never left me. He was always there. When I was in the trenches of the horrors of addiction, guess what? He gave me the breath of life to get up and go do it again. He gave me free will. And like a fool, I went back out there. But see, I know today that because of all the spiritual principles of nature, because spiritual principles are omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, they're always available. It's just that I got to plug in and tap into them. I got to have that open-mindedness. I got to have that willingness to utilize it. You know, I'm just really grateful to be here, to have this opportunity to share. To anybody, if this is your first time at We Grow with Love, keep coming back, because, you know, it's like I was sharing with some members last night. I go back home and I promote this, because I think everybody needs to be here to get in tune with this right here. And I try to get all of my sponsees to come. My sponsors here with me, and one of my sponsees, and it's an opportunity for us to do some male bonding, to get into some intimate relationships. See, because I don't want to, you know, I want to have this big facade outside, but man, I don't want y'all to really know my heart. I don't want to really reveal myself to you. You know, but if I'm going to apply spiritual principles in my life, I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to get up here and get butt naked, at least in front of my sponsor. And then, you know, and my sick mind say, oh, he going to say, oh, boy, he got a little wee-wee over there. You know, I'm so afraid of that judgment type thing. You know, but it's just an opportunity for us to come and do a little male bonding and hopefully get intimate and get plugged into some true spiritual principles and meet a lot of beautiful recovering addicts. And again, I'm just grateful to be here, and I'll keep coming back.
Come back, Michael.
Chuck?
I'm going to take this chair with me. That's where
Chuck's in charge.
I'm an addict named Chuck. And, you know, when you start talking about religion, it goes along with religion and politics. It's you can kind of rub people the wrong way. So maybe I should put the Dennis Miller disclaimer on the front. This is my opinion, and I may be wrong. But I agree with you. I think the similarities are probably what we should pick up on. Through my experience, I've heard so many people come in a damn organized religion. And, you know, you hear every once in a while you hear the term, I'm a recovering Catholic, and so on and so on and so on. And it's not really the religion that's so wrong. It's going back to principles and personalities that we sort of pick up on people in these organized religions that are not doing the right things for the right reasons. And the same as with NA, we have our spiritual principles, but there are members that wouldn't know a spiritual principle if it jumped up and bit them in the ass. You know, and I was talking to one of my friends this morning, and I says, you know, there's all kinds of spirits in this world when we talk about that, and there are a lot of bad ones too. And it seems like some of us latch on to the negative spirits of this world, and then we come in here and You know, by working the steps and doing a 4-step and so on, we can pretty much grasp what is lacking in our lives and start doing. Let these spiritual principles seep into our lives. And you know, I remember years back, it was in a magazine, and it was talking about organized religion, and it gave like 5 or 6 things that each major religion had, and you were supposed to match them up with what they were. And by reading what their principles were and their teachings, it was a son of a gun to figure out which ones belonged to which religion. So there was a similarity in that. But, and I think you're right, Mike. I think you can use organized religion and NA to augment each other and make them work together, if you so choose. That if you go to an organized religion and listen to them, and this is why I hate to get into this thing, because the church I go to, I can sit there during the sermon. I say, okay, that's step 4, that's step 10, that's step 3, and and sometimes they tell little anecdotes and stories, and I come back and I sneak them in at the tables, but they don't really have anything to do with the religion in itself, which is kind of fun. Like, I wish I could remember one of them now, but oh yeah, it's we were talking. Oh, I'll tell one. We're talking about thoughts, and it's an old German saying that it's about, you can't stop the birds from flying over your head, but you don't have to let them nest in your hair, which are the thoughts. So, you know, so you can use all things like that, and but spiritual principles, of course, honesty, open-mindedness, and so on and so on. I think each one of us in our own lives have to develop what they are, because every individual is different. Some are strong in certain areas and weak in others. And the shortcomings and the character defects and so on and so on. And one of the spiritual principles of the church I go to is to be an overcomer. And certainly that goes along with NA too, is to overcome our addictions. So there is similarities, and getting into a lighter vein on that, remember that workshop that yesterday was about after the meeting? You know, we go to the coffee shop and we sit down and we kind of joked about this kind of a thing, and that, well, is NA a religion compared to another religion? When we come to the conclusion that it could very well be, to people looking at it, because here what do? We open it up with a prayer, and say that you have an open speaker, which is practically like a sermon. Some of them. We take a collection, and we close with a prayer. What the hell's the difference? You know, it's only difference is that we don't pray to a particular dogmatic type of a God. We use our God of our understanding, but there is and then somebody else piped up and he says, yes, well, it's almost a cult because they want us to go every day. So there are similarities, and I don't think just out of hand that we should, just because we're members of NA, we should damn religion per se. It can be used as a tool along in the recovery process. So in one respect, I can't see any real big difference between the two. Although a lot of people, you know, like I said before, we damn certain people that run religions, you know, and it comes to mind like some of these televangelists that wind up in jail and so on and so on. But they are representatives of a religion. But the religion itself is not at fault. You know, these people are going to have to answer to the God of their understanding one of these days too, just like we are. At least that's my belief system. So, I'm not going to ramble on about this thing. I like to bring in the similarities of things too, and gee whiz, if it's going to help you, why not? Give it a shot. If you don't like it, you can always walk out. Just like you can walk out of the doors of this fellowship. So, that's all I got to say about that, and that's
We have some time left over, so does anybody like to share and come up and
I'm going to call Purvis.
Hey,
So I have to come up there.
Don't get on the mic.
I'm going to try this, Rick, I swear, man. Hello, family. I guess it's real important that I tell you that I am an addict, you know, for whatever that means. And I had different feelings, and somewhere I read that you can have a difference of opinion without, you can disagree or something like that. I forgot what it says. Yeah, sometimes I need that help. But I know for me that somebody told me spiritual is the spirit. And there's a spirit that is in truth. There's a spirit that's in love, and nobody owns it. And saying religion in a real general sense works, you know. But when you get into the specifics, I've heard that my God is greater than your God. And what I understood in Narcotics Anonymous, you can bring any God that you wanted in here, and it all culminates into one ultimate authority. And so it gets real important for me because, man, I remember when religion was pushed down my throat, and I rejected it. See, when I came in Narcotics Anonymous, they told me something different. They told me that if I'm cut, burnt, or broken, that my God will heal me. Without regard to whether I was atheist, agnostic, didn't believe, had lapsed in my beliefs, unconditionally. And so the word took on meaning. This idea of what is spiritual is the spirit, you know. That I have to go on different levels, and one of the levels that I feel is physically I feel hurt, and that I need time to have that to heal, that I need some individual to touch me, and that touch need not be based on some organized religion. You know, that, yeah, there are a lot of similarities. I read in the book it says that don't do anything to your brother that you wouldn't do to yourself. I read somewhere else that it says treat your brother's possessions as you would treat your own. See, I read somewhere else that says do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. And there's not a lot of difference. See, one of the things that I found is that I had betrayed so many trusts, that I had violated so many confidences, that the only thing that I found that would be able to forgive me was God. And one of the things I learned right here in these rooms is that my God is not going to send me to hell for being human. What religion was that? You know? And that oftentimes the thing that makes religions have something in common, they got some guy that stood up on a real big hill and they spouted some vestiges of the truth, and they led nations out of degradation and denigrations and dens of iniquity, and that's good for those nations, you know. But what I came to find out is that this idea of God is not unique to a particular nation, that God, just my belief, you know, and it's my opinion that God doesn't pick people, I got to pick God, you know. That there are spirits, man. I mean, not only truth and love, there are spirits that are called anger and fear, and, you know, spiritual means the spirit. And that I have to be able to discriminate. Or else I'll pick good and bad at the same time. That sometimes in my life, man, I'll be walking down the street and it feels good, because I know this is just my belief, and if you want a piece of it, you can have it, because it don't belong to me. But I'll walk down the street and it feels good. I feel no pain. I'm really happy about where I'm going, and I'll turn off and go into another direction and feel that pain and anguish, and I'm allowed to go. See, I came to this part where it says that it's not a punishing God. Look, if I stay in the 3rd grade too long, I'm a failure. I must go on to the 4th grade. You know, that I'm having this learning experience and that I gotta go through stuff and that it's not punishment. It's so that, and forgive me, because some people will misinterpret this, but I and the Father have to become one. And I don't want to wait until I die in order to become one. You know, so I have to learn how to stay on that road, how, you know, where it feels good and it's supposed to feel good, that I don't knock myself off the road because it feels too good. I don't know if this makes sense, but there is a difference, Jack. You know, I would hate to come in here and say that this is one particular religion. That in a real general sense it works real good, and that what I found is that there is some book associated with it because these ideas have to be concretized so the people that are coming after, and so how you can see it form and where it came from. But sometimes, man, when you get to the end of the road, man, I just don't believe that my God's going to send me to hell for being human. Because I had that feeling a long time, man. I was going straight to hell. I was being punished because of something, you know. And now I'm learning that I have to go through things in order to grow through things.
Right.
You know. So I don't know. I to some degree it's different. To some degree I understand that you have to get your own God, bring him in here, and then relent. That it's one ultimate authority. But it's a combination of all of these beliefs in God, and that I tend to believe that there are more people that can't read the book than can read the book. But one of the things, and I don't know if I'm quoting it right, it says that as a result, and I'm going to shut up with this, but they say that if it is a baby, you can't introduce him to God. That he's not mature enough to understand the idea of God. That the mother nurtures him and cares for him and caresses him. And when he matures, then he understands that something made the mother and the mother made him. And for me, Narcotics Anonymous became the mother. It held me and caressed me and whole until I had some hope. And then maybe later, as a result of, I can get into those spirits, man. But until then, man, just two ideas, truth and love helps me in life. So thank y'all for listening.
Fanatic, my name is Skip. Hey, Skip. Gratefully recovering through the grace of God, then they program many people. I believe like other addicts, that Narcotics Anonymous by no means has a patent on spiritual principles, that we find them in a lot of other places. For me though, I think it's a difference of language, and being consistent with our program and not bringing, for me, I'm part of a religion, but, like another addict, it took me some time because, this disease is one of extremes, and if I came into the program, new into this program, man, and then somebody was trying to, promote a particular sect or religion, or started talking out of another book, a spiritual book that a lot of religions use, some don't, for me, I take it to extremes. I take that book and I'd run with it, and turn into Father Skip or something, and start putting passages on the walls and stuff, because I've done that. That's my experience. That's what happened when I came into this program, and I was grateful that, people showed me the similarities, but also the differences with the language of being consistent with the language of Narcotics Anonymous, and I believe this is a God-given program, that I couldn't get it no other way. So God created a program for people like me to give me back to a God, to bring me back to God, and this is the vehicle, that allows me, because, I can look around this room and a lot of people that are in, their particular religions or something like that. How many of us were practicing when we got here? It took us some time to form that, that particular opinion or belief, and that's what I talk about. That's why, for me it's a private thing, and I don't, especially for new people, I try not to to push out. It's hard enough to try to get new people to pick up our book, you know what I mean? Let alone, you know, to get them to look at something else, you know. And again, we learn by examples, you know, and for me, it's just a matter of language and sticking with that, you know, because I believe that we are, you know, for me, spirituality is something that's unseen, it's something I could feel. And the basic text, talking in the beginning of basic text, that this is a spiritual book, because we have a spiritual disease, and this book will deal with spiritual matters, you know, and I believe that the fellowship did write this book, you know what I mean, and it's experience. It's not a novel, it's not a love story, it's addict's experience, you know, and the spiritual principles, you know, that we practice in this program, you know, lead us to that awakening of the spirit, you know, as Brother Ag was saying, as a result of practicing these principles, you know, and allow us, I can't, you know, forget what allowed me to form that belief in the God that I have today. And that was this program and the people in it. You know, the fellowship also, you know, allowed me, you know, to form that belief, you know, because when I came in here, you know, I believed in you people for so long, you know, and it allowed me to find a belief of my own, you know, a personal higher power that today is always with me, you know, and I think in that manner, you know, I'm grateful that, you know, that I was taught a little bit of the differences, you know, and a lot of the similarities. You know, I too attend a particular, I'm a member of a particular church, and a lot of similarities when we go to Tuesday. Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? You know, and me and my wife are looking at each other like, you know, damn, next program, you know, and there are a lot of similarities, but you know, I believe when I come here, you know, and I've learned in this program through other addicts that, you know, I'm clean and serene, you know, and when I'm over there, you know, I'm you know, I say hallelujah, you know, and all these other terms that I don't use here, you know, and I think that's what, for me, the differences are. It's just it's language, you know, consistent with our program. And when I go there, I use language consistent to where I'm at, you know, but, you know, I do believe that there are a lot of similarities, but, you know, there are, some differences also, you know, and if you're not part, and that's a great part of this program, that if you're not part of any religion, you know, you still, you know, can recover through this program. I mean, it's not of a prerequisite here to be part of anything, you know. That's the beauty of this program, you know, that even if you aren't, you know, I think what in the third step it talked about a God as we understood him, you know, and that allows us. You know, that's the 10 strike that allows us, you know, to form our own beliefs of a higher power, you know, and I believe that, you know, when they put this stuff together, they knew what they were doing, because, you know, there's still holy wars going on today, you know what I mean? So you start talking, you know, like another act said, my God's greater than this God, and you know, those are all outside issues, man, because it'll start conflict in the fellowship, you know what I mean? And the unity and not the uniformity is what unites us, you know what I mean? Not believing in just one sect thing, you know, but I'm grateful for both, you know, myself, you know, but, you know, there are, for me, slight differences, you know, with the language, but, you know, I'm just grateful to be here, you know. I believe that we're all spiritual beings, you know, having a human experience, you know, and that the Spirit lives in us and through us. You know, but I'm just grateful to be here. I like to wish everybody love, peace, and recovery. I'll keep coming back.
One more. I'm going to have to call Michael. I first like to give honor and praise to my higher power, who's called by many names. I also like to give honor and praise to my ancestors, because without them we wouldn't be here. And I had to speak to the problem I have with religions, because I don't go to a church. And when I went to a church, I've been baptized 4 times in 4 different religions. I was damn near drowned in Lake Michigan once. Man, I thought they'd never bring me up, but that's okay too. And when that controversy of whether or not we should remove him out of the steps and out of the traditions, I was glad I was able to be a part of that in my area. And when it came to the group, and I was able to vote on it, because I voted to take it out of there. Because in some religions I've been to, it says that we're made in the image of God. And if I got to keep calling my God a him all the time, that means what happens to all of our sisters who are made in the same image? So I kind of looked at that and I said, wow, him removes half of the population of the world. You know, because when I look at that sister, I see God, because I can look past the house that her spirit is in. See, it's not me look, because his house, if you look at him, his house is different from mine. You know, my house a little bit balder maybe than his. You know, the house is different. It's all our houses are different. But what makes the similarities, what Brother Mike brought up, was what we have in common. He's got a spirit, I got a spirit. So I can't just discount half of the population and say my sisters don't have God in them. You know, so I have to take issue with that. I like what my brother Chuck brought up. This program and most religions are very, so much the same. We start with a prayer. My daddy said when that plate come around, you thump it. Well, what falls out is yours. And it's like, we do a lot of things that are similar. And I have to look at spirit. In this room, there's a lot of hidden conduit. And inside is copper wire. And what that is what transports that spirit. We can't see the spirit just like we can't see electricity. But when I go over there and hit that switch, I got results. See, when I have that spiritual awakening, now you can see results. I can go out and help somebody else. Telling them what happened to me. Just by telling them what's going on with me. So it doesn't make a difference that I can't see all of that conduit in there. I can't see, and the best conduit for electricity, the human body. The human body is the best conduit for electricity. So that's the reason in most electrical situations on my job, they won't let families work together. Because if my brother touches the hot switch, I want to save him, so first thing I do is touch him, and electricity got both of us then. So they won't let him. It's a safety issue, But the best conduit for electricity is the human body, and is able to carry that spirit. And when I can sit here and I can listen to somebody else, and I have never seen that person before, have never come in contact, and I'm sitting there listening to them, and something they say, and their spirit hits mine, I start nodding my head. I get to talk, yes, sir. The same thing we do in church. The preacher get good. Oh yeah, you right. Amen. We say all of them good. That's the same thing we do here. Because when your spirit moves me, it moves me to say something sometimes. It moves. It actually moves me. I get that chill in my spine because your spirit has touched mine. And one of the best ways for my spirit to touch yours is through that hug. And I didn't always get them hugs in the dope house, so that spirits didn't come together. I didn't always get that hug at home, so that spirit didn't come together. We weren't spiritually connected. And I've learned that the spirit has to be not only, in dealing with electricity, it has to be mechanically touched. So that when that hug comes in, it has to be mechanically fit. Connected, and it also has to be spiritually connected. With that mechanical comes the rest of it. When I reach out and hug you, well, what I'm doing is mechanically receiving your spirit, and I give you some of mine, and you get, and it's that big word, law of reciprocity. So there's a lot of spiritual principle. Reciprocity is one of them words that I learned in one of them religions. That means the only way to keep it is to give it away. That's all it means. But it's a big, long word. I like using it because it sounds good. I use big words now. I'm learning with my wife to use big words, because she uses big words. It's great. But it doesn't matter what carries that spirit. Like I said, my house has no bearing. When you see this house coming, all you're seeing is what carries my spirit. Inside, I got a good spirit.
You know, I enjoy laughing. I enjoy things. You know, that spirit when my daughter could ride her bike and she stood up and man, she smiled and I could see that. I could see that. You know, but I can't discount. You know, when I say when some of them preachers get up and say, well, if you don't do this, then you going to heaven or you going to hell. You know, and one of my sponsees took me out to the lake. And just like this lake out here, we were looking at Lake Michigan, and it was a nice, beautiful spot. The sun was shining, a little bit cold, and there were some ducks out there. And this is the reason I stopped saying the Lord's Prayer, because that part is said, as in heaven and earth. At the same time, it's got to be one, just like it's in the other. And where else, like this lake out here, where else can a duck go to find a better heaven than the one he's in? Man. It just don't get no better, man. I'm out here. I got all the fish I need, a few little trees. I got 5 little ducklings following me. You know, I got a mate. Where else can you find a better heaven than right out here on this lake? You know, so it's kind of like, this is my heaven. So, you know, when they got to that part and, you know, there's a lot of things in Narcotics Anonymous that we do religiously. I go to meetings religiously. You know, I show up, I get involved religiously. You know, and it's not a religion. I know the difference, you know, because nothing's required. It don't say, well, if you don't believe like I believe, you can't come to my church, or you can't come to my meeting because you don't believe, you know, but it says I can believe. You know, one of the things I learned about that song, I believe I can fly. The most important words in there is, I believe. Man, it didn't say, you know, you got to believe this way. It just say, I believe. And I know once I believe, I can do anything. There's nothing I can't do. Now, there's a lot of things I won't do, and every time I won't do it, I say, well, I can't do that. It's not that I can't do it, it's just that I won't do them. You know, that part Brother Mike spoke to about not being sufficient, you know, religion and psychiatry, not being sufficient. It didn't say they didn't work. Just said it wasn't sufficient. And you know what the problem is? It's just like this program. If I have something going on and I work through it, you know, and I get to the other side, that means the program works. But if I go out and use, that means I failed to work the program. You know, and it's not that those religion and psychiatry and all them other things didn't work. It's just that when they say, well, Mike, you got to stop smoking. Oh, Lord, why I got to stop doing that? They say, well, you got to come here on a regular basis. Damn, I don't want to show up there. You know them same cries we have when, you know, how come I got to do a 4-step? You know, the same cries that I had over there, I may have here too. You know, but it's not that they didn't work. It's just that I failed to work them. You know, when I lied on the couch and told the doctor, you know, my daddy's the problem and my mama's the problem. And the 4-step said, what part did you play in? That same thing that psychiatrist said, what part did you play in it? Tell me who your part. You know, and there's no difference. But it's not that they don't work. It's just I failed to work them. You know, it's a big difference. You know, this shirt I got, you reason I love this shirt? For 2 reasons. Because I went there, and because what this symbolizes. I don't ever want to be caught up in the shackles of addiction again. Damn, never again. Never. But as long as I follow these programs, man, I don't have to be. You know, I remember when my man put them, damn, I looked at him, you know, and I got in that little 4x8 and there wasn't nothing in there but a urinal on the bench, and I said, damn, I don't ever want, I was only in there for 15 minutes, you know. My mama said he'd run his mouth, get himself in more trouble, but that was long enough. I don't ever want to be shackled again. I love freedom so much. You know, just go in McDonald's and watch the prices go up. Damn. A lot of folks can't do that. You know, just be able to sit next to a sister and she smells so good. A lot of folks can't do that. You know, to actually come here and see beauty. You know, and know that I can go back having seen beauty and go back and make beauty. You know, I heard a gentleman talking today in a meeting earlier about how we run. You know, I don't need to run from my community. What I need to go back and straighten it out. And then my community be just like any other community. But the problem is getting us all together so we can straighten it out. Because we can straighten it out. You know, my home group can be the best home group. And it is the best home group because I'm there all the time wanting to straighten it out. Been through all kind of controversies. And, you know, I can relate what the speaker said last night, been called all them names, you know. And those are terms of endearment. When somebody call you an NA group, it's a term of endearment. That means you're doing something. That means you're actually so involved in it that you care about it. You know, and I ain't going to let you tear up what I care about. That's all I got.
Thanks. Someone else?
Hi, family. I'm an addict named Marie.
Hey, Marie.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Chuck. And I can relate to that church thing, telling my house, hey, that's the 4-step. Hey, that's acceptance. Hey, I would do all that all the time. But I grew up in a religious background, and when I got caught up in my addiction, everything, and again, where it says about God turning away and all that stuff, I turned away, you know, and it was hard for me to even get back with it because I deprived myself so bad and denied myself that right. And I too just got back into religion, but Narcotics Anonymous allowed me to have that time to sit there and try, because I used to fall asleep, go to the bathroom till it was over, you know, get a missalette and take it home. Mom, I went to church, you know, all that other good stuff, you know. I didn't want to be there, but I was pushed into the religion, you know. And thank God today I could bring my children up not only religiously, but Narcotics Anonymous way, the new way of life, you know. And I'm grateful to be able to do that because I have 2 adult children and I didn't have that opportunity. I tried, but I seen where my direction was going, and it was hard for me to be able to do those things and then fulfill my addiction at the same time. So I just let it go, you know, and I couldn't. But today, God has allowed me, my God, my understanding has allowed me to do these things, you know, and today, you know, it's like the kids like, Mom, today's Sunday. They know what day is what. They know Wednesday we go to a group meeting where they have babysitting. My children are a part of. They too are a part of. And it's because it feels good. Their spirit, and not only my spirit, not my husband's, their spirit, you know, they're little people too, and they have spiritual. They have a spiritual nature just like all of us, and that's what I want. Again, I want, just like they say, the way, how I want to be treated, to treat others, and that goes along with my children. I want them to grow with that so that when they grow up, they could be able to treat others that way, you know, in a loving, caring manner. And God willing, they don't ever have to sit up at the table and say, hi, I'm Destiny and I'm an addict. Or hi, I'm Valerie and I'm an addict. God willing, but see, who am I? All I could do is be there and nurture and pamper and loving and Band-Aid and go on with life as far as that goes. But I'm grateful to Narcotics Anonymous because it allowed me to be a parent. It allowed me to learn to love myself, you know, and to be somebody. And again, yeah, and I could fly too. Not literally fly, but I could fly and get the job done. You know, whatever the situation may be or what's going, and I'm able to deal with crises and situations and occurrences, and those are all successes in my life. You know, just for today's states it, man, the good with the bad, and if we're not looking at the bad as a learning experience, that bad is going to happen again, repeating the second step, repeating insanity, the vicious cycle till I learn to get it right, you know. Till I learn to get it right, I'm going to practice that again. That lesson's going to happen again. But today, a program has allowed me to get this awareness to look at, okay, I've been down that road now, man. I don't want that pain anymore because the pain gets so great with me. I abuse myself so much. I can't afford it today, you know. I can't afford it and I have a problem with anger. I don't know, most of you don't, but I do. You know, I had that problem with anger, but I'm working on it today. See, today, the difference is, and the change is, I work at it, you know. And Narcotics Anonymous allows me to get there, you know. And with the religious background, you know, again, they're 2 spiritual books. Religion is just that, religion, what I believe in, what I want to believe, where I want to go to, you know. And that didn't come overnight. I didn't become a grateful, recovering addict. I didn't even want to say I'm an addict, you know. I came in kicking, crying, screaming. I had to sign a paper to get here and F everybody, and I hated everybody, and, you know, and I went out and used after a meeting because I was mandated to be there. You know, I had to be here, you know. And church, again, I didn't kick and cry, but I lied and took a messalette home. Same thing, same process, you know. Today I get ready to go there, and on Sunday night I do my my program living in between, I do what I need to do, and this is all with the Spirit. See, and I don't have that strength. HP gives me that strength to do these things, these daily things, I have a sponsor, I sponsor, and those are commitments in my life, man, the spirituality, and like I said again, I tore myself up. I'm grateful to be here, some kind of sense in my head, I'm still growing through that, the knowledge, the awareness, I have 2 legs, I could walk, talk, share, some, mentally, physically, and sometimes I'm not spiritually fitting. That's where I have to go to that conscious contact. And I'm grateful to see the understanding not only with my higher power, with my pastor that I have today. They know I'm a recovering addict. I let them know, because when you go up and collect, when you go up to that, you take a walk down that aisle and you're getting this and that and whatever the heck you get, hey, I can't, I have an allergic reaction when I take a little taste of it, but, and I have to explain, I can't do that. I cannot do that. Be religious or whatever, but out of respect, I can't do that. Guess what? Pastor did and gave me grape juice. My stuff is to the side, but I'm able, and I'm grateful to be even to do that today. I remember doing it, but I understand it today. I didn't understand it then, again, because I didn't have no knowledge of what it meant, what it was about. But today, I'm grateful to be able to do those things. See, I open up myself. The doctor, like they say about doctor psychiatry and all that, I have to let them know who I am. Because I can't take this narcotic medication. Does it make me want to be hyper down or whatever, I can't afford it today. I don't want to feel that way no more. I get enough, I'm so hyped up enough as it is in the morning. My kids got me going and da-da-da. Can you imagine me on speeders or something? Da-da-da. Oh my God. And because my day is so full, the Spirit has me going so much. When I hit the bed, I'm out. And then boom, alarm clock, biological alarm clock, I'm up again. The routine. But I'm grateful to be able to do that. I remember all my time was wasted in my addiction. Man, what you want? Goodbye. I didn't care if they went to school or not, or did they go, or whatever. It didn't matter to me. But today, everything matters to me. Everything. And see, and it's not about Marie today. It's about the Spirit. My house. I got to clean. When they say clean house, yeah, clean house literally, but clean the house inside of me. That house. The Spirit. I have to clean me. And I'm grateful for the Spirit I have today and the learning process in it. And I'm still in the teaching. I'm still in the learning process. I'm still learning a lot of things, And again, the steps, applying the steps, the powerlessness, restoring me to sanity, turning my will over and leaving it there. Because I take it right back. 1 minute I'm praying about it, the next minute I'm back to where I was before I started praying. So that's a process to, taking an inventory of myself more. And I'm not in what part I played. Oh, I hate that. What part you play in there? Oh God, man. But, I hate, and it is me. See, I allow my spirit to get caught up. I allow me to get angry and react and respond to that bullshit, I allow it, see, and I'm learning that. Narcotics, not, again, I don't get this nowhere else but here. And when I leave here, that's where the applying it in my life comes to. Apply it in all my affairs, be it church, work, home, school, wherever I go, mom's house, my brothers and sisters' house, I got to apply it in all my affairs. That's how I learned. I could sit up today and pay attention. And guess what? You all gave me that ability to sit here and have that attentive listening. Because I didn't listen to shit. I knew it all. I suffered from that no-itis, man. I knew it. You ain't telling me nothing new. But today I could sit there and get that open-mindedness, had that willingness to get the first. And be willing to be honest with myself about the part I play in things or how I could apply things in my life. And that's the Spirit, man. That's the Spirit. And I'm grateful for the program of Narcotics Anonymous, because without it, there would be no me. There would be no me. The thought of using and going out there would be no me coming back either. No, because my spirit was so broke when I got here in the first place. It was so, the esteem was so low. I didn't even have that, and I know I just didn't want to use, and you all taught me, you ain't got to use just for today, and I had to get with that one, just for today. I didn't have to use, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for everything you all teaching me. I like to wish you all, keep coming back for me, man. If not for yourself, come back for me, because I need you. That's all I got. That's it.
My name is Sparky. I'm an addict. Can we close in usual manner?
Yeah, how can you forget?
I almost forgot we had to eat first.
White is going, boy.